Welcome to the Mint City Soccer Show. I am your host, Matt Swift. No David Gussler tonight. He will be back next week. We have producer Corey Inscope behind the scenes, and you will hear from him later on. But I do have a special co-host tonight, and that special person is Vaughn Pollman. Vaughn, welcome back to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. I should have changed my name down here. I should have had Gussler right there.
Oh, that would have been good. Yeah, absolutely. Vaughn, you were on, I think, 4 episodes ago before the season started. So there are a lot of things that I would like to get your thoughts on since the season has begun. I'm sure we'll touch on some of those in this episode, but we are here tonight to talk specifically about our latest match with Nashville SC. I felt a lot of emotions this match, and that began with when the starting 11 came out. I know my eyebrows were raised. There's a lot to get into tonight, Vaughn, but let's start with
Yeah.
Dean Smith's lineup choice. Anything that stuck out to you? Were you surprised at all?
Not really. Maybe that Diagra didn't get the start. We knew that Ajimong was most likely starting. I think with the Capetti rumors, it seemed pretty clear that that was happening. And he hadn't made any changes to the rest of the lineup in the first 3 games. So it was a little surprising to see Arfield get the call over Diagra, and then of course getting to see Gianni out there, or Johnny, excuse me, over Urso. So that was a nice, interesting wrinkle. I'm sure we're going to talk about his performance. There was a lot to like there.
So back to Arfield and Gianni, like, would you have started them? Was that something that you would have done? I don't know that I would have. I think I would have probably kept the same lineup, except for, of course, Patrick up top. But were you shocked at all? Do you think that was a little too soon, or do you think it was pretty good?
I understood the decision to try and get Gianni some minutes. I think that there's a lot of people within the team that really like his skill set. So I think we're going to see more of him. I think there's going to be a little bit of an active rotation there in the midfield. And for our field, I think it was to try and give maybe a different flavor off the bench. I think it was for us to see, maybe give a little bit more support to what Ajimong was going to try to do up top. I think that was probably the thinking of it. I wasn't sure if maybe we would have seen Berkimas in the game. So those were kind of my only notes. You know, I wasn't like floored by the changes that Dean made.
The only thing that I think sticks out to me is starting Arfield, and correct, see if you agree with me here. Like, I don't think he gives you the pressure on the ball that Brecht would give or has given the first 3 matches. And that's what I was really kind of looking for in this game, is coming out fast, pressing, putting a lot of pressure on Nashville early. And I just don't think Arfield's that type of player. Not to say that he's any worse, but I think as far as that style is concerned, I was kind of scratching my head a little bit that Brecht didn't start. Gianni, like, again, I don't know. I thought he played really well. We'll get into that, of course, but I still think I would have subbed him on and started Urso at the beginning, because again, I wanted that bite in the midfield. I wanted that pressure. So I thought it was very interesting that Dean kind of switched some things up this game. Of course, if a couple of calls maybe went our way, maybe it would have all worked out great. But
Well,
any
as we're
more
talking
thoughts on
through
the
it,
lineup?
well, yeah, as I'm talking through it, another thought that kind of popped in my mind is like maybe that there is also this feeling of like the ones and twos on the team, right? Of in training, I'm sure we know for sure that Diagra and Copetti have been playing as the ones, right? And that they've been working on that connection between those 2 guys. Uh, that means that in training, I'm sure that there are a lot of fabricated moments where it's Ajimong and Arfield that are playing together in that same sort of dynamic of trying to have Arfield be the guy that's feeding the ball into Ajimong. So it could have also been a thought of, this is me spitballing. I don't know this for sure. This is me, like, as we're talking through it. It could be trying to have that like established connection between 2 guys and saying, no, when Ajimong's on there, I want to have Arfield there because they've been building this rapport in training. That's just
Yeah.
my guess, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was playing into it.
And that's what you're meaning by ones and twos, for anyone that's not sure. Like in training, you're gonna have pairs, right? You're gonna have kind of like your first team lineup, which would have been Copetti and Brecht for all intents and purposes. And then like on the side, the second team, quote unquote, would be Patrick, Arfield, basically your first subs and stuff like that. So that does make sense. I don't know if that's the case, but it makes sense in my head for sure. Um, but let's get into the first half. Uh, how did you think that we started this game? Do you think we were off on the right foot? Do you think we had enough pressure at the beginning, or what did you think?
I think that the game went differently than we've seen in the first 3 matches, where we didn't impose our style, on the game as much from the jump. I think that, we've kind of been the team to set the energy bar, and in the first 3 games, and in this game, Nashville came out and they were absolutely the protagonists, and I think that they were effective in their press, and they made it challenging for us to have possession early on. So we weren't dictating play. We weren't dictating where the field was tilting. And Dean talked about it. Kind of both teams' rest defenses were struggling. There was a lot of transitions. It was a very open game, really from the jump. And so I don't think we kind of settled in to the game until much later in the first half, and definitely when we really controlled it in the second half. But that also took Nashville changing their tactics when they really started to say, "Hey, let's get into a low block and hold on to this lead and make things difficult." So I would say no. It was definitely a game that we didn't have the same sort of hold on control of the game.
Yeah, I mean, we did have a few chances early on. There was Patrick had a chance in the 12th minute, and Patrick had kind of a roller coaster night, and someone that I want to get your thoughts on later. But in the 12th minute, he gets a beautiful ball out of the back from, I think it was Gianni, I believe. Pat does a great job of bodying off a defender. Unfortunately, his angle to goal is drastically cut down, and he probably, if he picked his head up, probably could have picked out Arfield that was rushing in. But it was a good early chance for Charlotte FC. Another thing I think, and I agree with all your points about coming out strong and being on the front foot, or us lacking to get on the front foot. Another thing that hurt us was an early injury to Vargas, which was a no call from the referee, which I've got to say the referees had a doozy of a night. But burning a early sub like that was definitely not ideal. I don't know the full extent of Vargas's situation and injury. I'm sure we'll get an update later in the week, but he was seen at Crown Legacy Sunday wearing a boot. I think it might just be an ankle sprain, so don't let the boot scare you that it's going to be months or anything like that. But I'm sure we'll know something later this week. Hopefully by Thursday when I do the game preview, I'll have an update there. But any thoughts about that early sub, and like, do you think that may have thrown off our tactics or our game plan there?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we knew going into the game that we were thin up top, right? You already don't have Copetti as a weapon. You know, Agiemong's probably going to have to go the full 90. And then we know how we're waiting on Abada to show up. We don't have a ton of wingers. And so Vargas going down, and the way that it happened too, I mean, um, it was a really unfortunate situation because it should have been a yellow card in my mind. That, like,
Yeah,
he totally took his leg out from underneath him. It I think in
yeah,
almost any other game that's going to be called a yellow. Uh,
absolutely.
I'm not sure how it wasn't, and then the ramifications of it. Like the guy has to sub off, and it wasn't even a foul call. I think it went out for a corner
No,
on
yeah,
that play.
it was not called at all, which is
I
incredible.
was I was shocked that Vargas went back out there on the field at all, and that he was even
Yeah,
lightly jogging on it, which shows his resolve, right? Like that he tried to
yeah.
go, or tried to, you know, play it out until somebody could get a little more warmed up. But the decision of, our field over Diagara. Well, Diagara is on by the 26th minute and having to go a fairly long stretch. So, uh, yeah, unfortunate for Vargas. Hopefully, he can get back healthy quick. But also, to be frank, he hasn't had that level of effectiveness that we've needed on that right side, anyways.
What are your thoughts of Dehadre on either wing? Maybe as an option. Do you like him out there? Do you think he's effective at all? Or do you like him more in the middle and that's where he needs to stay?
Yeah, no, I want him in the middle. He's technically gifted, and we're gonna talk about. I, I guess I can throw it in here now.
Good.
I'm very high on Diagra, and I think that there's a lot on his shoulders right now until we get that DP number 10. Like, he is the closest thing we have to a playmaker and to be a chance creator. And I think there's still a lot of people that are like really wanting to see a lot out of him. And
Right.
I feel like he is performing to a pretty darn good level. Like right now, he's got a goal and an assist.
Mhm.
In these first few games, he's getting quite a few key passes. He's been progressive. He's maybe given the ball away a bit in some of his take-ons, but right now there were questions heading into the season of like, can he be a even in the ballpark of being 10 goals, 10 assists? And right now he's on pace with those two goal contributions. He's on pace for 17 goal contributions. Like, he's playing at a pretty good level, and that's with him also not earning an assist on like one of Capetti's chances.
Right.
So Diagra is doing what he needs to do right now, finding the score sheet, being impactful. It doesn't maybe come across as being very loud the way he's doing it, but I don't think he's really put a foot wrong defensively. There's just a lot that I like in his style of play. I think that if he had another goal dangerous guy beside him, we would be talking about him in a very different light.
Do you see him going forward? Maybe there'd be some rotation between Arfield and Brecht, but you would prefer Brecht out there over Arfield if that was kind of the choice there?
Oh yeah, yeah. Like as a every game starter, or which guy's going to get 2,500 minutes and which one's going to get 2,000. I'm going to be asking for Diagra to be the one getting those extra minutes.
Yeah, and like I said, my eyebrows were raised when I saw that. It's not something that I would have done, but I'm not the coach. So, but let's shift a little bit to our defense because I want to talk about some early chances in that first half too. On the other end, I believe it was the 24th minute. It was still 0-0. Nashville actually missed a very good chance at goal from a ball played out wide, and I think it was a header from Mural, I believe is how you say it. It was off
Will.
target, but yeah, it kind of, highlighted kind of our problem on the night. He probably should have buried that one actually when I went back and looked at it, but those were some early warning signs. I just felt like this game, for whatever reason, we weren't as sound defensively, didn't cover each other, didn't slide over fast enough. Um, and there were some players getting them in between Milan and Privet on this header that was missed. Same thing, right in the middle of those two players. Um, I just, for some reason, I just think we defensively, we're not all the way there. What are your thoughts defensively?
I think that we did not slow runners into the box at times. Nashville was doing well at getting the ball wide and getting those crosses in early
Yep.
in their play progression. And their two goals, I guess we can talk about those. They were
Yep.
just really good service. I think the opening goal, which was around what was it, 32nd minute,
Right.
Sam Surridge, Tyler Washington, first touch, getting that ball across at that angle, like
Did you see
what
how
can you do?
open he was? Did you see how open he was? Burn was tucked in the middle of the field. By the time Burn even got anywhere near him, Burn was still in the 18, which is just acres of space for that. And that was what's kind of like frustrating. But
Yeah,
continue
it,
with
it
your
was a quick. That was a quick transition. There was actually a foul in the buildup when we had possession at the other end of the field that Ajimang got could have been called a foul. He
Mhm.
was slow to reintegrate into the play. And I think that hurt us a little bit there. If Ajimang would have gotten up and gotten back defensively, there was no pressure. That was about the only time in the game I felt we kind of lost the mark on Hani Mukhtar. And Mukhtar was the one who was able to spread the ball wide to Tyler Washington in space.
Right.
And that was what Nashville did a couple times. That actually was a little scary because it was a little bit of shades of what happened last year. Was a
Yeah.
team with those quick switches and having to quickly shift our defense and address that. The
Yep.
difference was it wasn't coming down the middle.
Yep.
But we have to have our center backs and our I'm not going to put anything on Kalina on these 2 goals. I don't think that he was really in a. I think you'd be asking too much of Kalina to be coming off his line to punch out
Yeah.
either one of those.
Yeah.
But we didn't slow the runs into the box, and then we didn't get contact on either Surridge or on Wheel.
Mhm.
And as a for opening goal, just tip the hat. Crazy
It was
cross
a
from
really good
Washington.
header.
Surridge with a really good, movement off the ball and making that space for himself. It's a training ground goal that just those are going to happen. You don't want to see it happen, but those are going to happen. The second one I felt was much more preventable.
Yeah.
Another
Yeah.
kind of weird play that kind of
Yeah.
collapsed where we had a couple of opportunities on Tyler Boyd to
Mhm.
regain possession. I think Diagra like even won a tackle at one point and the ball kind of just popped back to
Right.
Boyd. Boyd was
Yep.
able to make a little bit of a horizontal run,
Yep.
got it over to Shaq Moore. Shaq
Right.
Moore in tons of space. Uranen couldn't close him down fast enough. Moore able to pick up his head and pick out his pass. But man, Malanda has got to recognize that
Yeah.
run and make the jump. I think he got caught a little flat-footed,
Right.
and I think the scarier thing was like that was right after the Surridge goal. Like you
Mhm.
should have already made the adjustment, and that should be like top of mind. I
Right.
can't let that happen again in this zone. And so and I think this is the other thing was like we saw it in what Muel's celebration was like rubbing the belly, like he was hungrier and he ate. Like
Yeah.
he got the goal because he was the one who wanted it more and made it happen. And then we were digging out of a hole at that point.
Yeah, it's super unfortunate, and it's kind of like deja vu from last season. And one thing that we harped on a lot on the on the show last season is this, being super narrow, the ball quickly being played out wide. We're not shutting folks down fast enough, and both of those goals, like you were just saying, like they were able to pick their head up and put a great ball in. Great header on the first one. Second one should have absolutely been closed down, and that shouldn't have happened. But we find ourselves down 2-0, and we could easily folded. And but I feel like this team is made a little different. I think this team is a lot better mentally and physically from last season, and we were able to claw one back with my man Yeri Uren getting in there, being persistent, getting up towards the goal, battling it out, and able to get the ball over to Dahare, who's able to slot it home for his first goal of the season. Like you were saying, he's gotten a goal and assist. And that came in stoppage time. Again, I felt really good about that. I know in the away section, we were really clapping hard because we're like, yes, now we've got momentum. This team kept going. They didn't fold. They didn't like, all right, let's just get to halftime. They kept going. So that was very encouraging. And we could stop here because we do have a little event that we want to talk about. But we will be right back. How's it going, everybody? We are going to be doing a live show at Salud on April 6th for our away match against the New England Revolution. The Mint City Collective is having their watch party there, so hope to see you all out there. Like we've said on the show, Mint City is going to be rotating their big watch parties this year. We did a couple at Hot Fly. Now we're going to be at Salud. Hope everybody comes out. We're going to have some guests on the show, and we're going to pick some folks out of the crowd to just hop on and chat with us. So see you out there April 6th. Look out for some more information on social media, and see you guys there. All right, we are back, Vaughn, and we're going to talk about the second half. Score is 2-1 Vaughn, thoughts on the second half? Do you think we played better, came out a little stronger? What are your thoughts?
I think it still took us a little bit to work back into the game. We weren't giving up chances. I thought it was a much tighter half in that sense, but it was still very open. Lots of transitions. They Nashville made the halftime change to bring on Schaffelberg, which I think created some challenges at times for Nathan Byrne. Definitely kept him having to make some trackbacks. So that was an
Mhm.
interesting little wrinkle that happened, but no, we grew into the half, and I think we had more opportunities and several calls that were really questionable.
Yeah, let's get into a couple of those. Let's start a little early in the second half. I think it was the 56th minute. Um, Patrick gets taken down, and an actual foul was called. And I think luckily for Nashville, there was still a player back, because if not, this probably should have been a red card. Um, and the reason why I bring up this play specifically, and I want to get your thoughts on Patrick anyway. Uh, I said earlier this was kind of a roller coaster game for him. One of the criticisms I've seen online is, for this game, that he didn't create a lot of chances. I thought he did. He didn't play his best game. I thought his touch was kind of poor at times, but this was a perfect example of him getting into good space and creating a chance. Unfortunately, he was taken down, and we get a nice free kick out of this. But what were your thoughts on this type of play, and then Patrick's game on the night?
Let's start with the play in the 54th minute. It was a back pass, a poor pass by Nashville in possession, and Ajimong was first to the ball, and Jack Mayer definitely went lunging tackle,
Mhm.
studs right into the ankle, no touch on the ball, and I don't think McNaughton was anywhere close to being in a position to defend it had Ajimong been able to stay on his
Right,
feet.
right.
It was maybe a little bit of a heavy touch, but the dude is getting cleaned out on
Mhm.
on a play that there was no defensive contact to the ball. Absolutely should have been a dog so red.
Mm.
Unimaginable that it wasn't. Unimaginable that it didn't go to VAR. I cannot explain away that, and that would have changed everything.
Right.
They would have been down to 10 men. We still would have had that really good free kick opportunity, because that's something we should probably talk about at some point here too. Is
Mhm.
we had two really dangerous free kicks in this
Yep,
game,
that's right.
but also that's back to back games that we've had some really threatening free kicks.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, that moment I think could have changed the trajectory of the game, and it just didn't go in our favor, and I'm not sure why. Now for Ajimong, to be fair to Nashville, McNaughton did a pretty good job most of the game playing physically and playing tight to him. Um, he made it difficult for Patrick to get clean touches on the ball, especially when his back was to goal. There were a
Right.
couple times where Patrick didn't quite find the right pass or get quite a clean enough touch, but he was fighting through a lot of that contact. He was creating some of those opportunities. I didn't think he was bad. He looked like a young player that's still growing, and he's trying to learn how to use that physicality against bigger, more physical guys in MLS. I thought Patrick did a fairly good job of that. He did enough to create a couple of opportunities. It wasn't
Mhm.
like, oh man, every 10 minutes he's getting another look at goal. No, I wasn't expecting that either.
Mhm.
But no, he did enough to. He probably should have had that chance we talked about early in the first half. He definitely should have earned the dog so red here. And then there was a later penalty kick. And he also earned a good foul at the edge of the box. Really, I think what happened was when he was able to shade over to Jack Mayer, like Jack really had a hard time defending Patrick in 1v1 and in space. It was McNaughton that was really kind of locking down Patrick most of the night.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the ensuing free kick. Udorin is actually pretty good at free kicks, which is a nice surprise. Like I said, he's I think he's like my favorite player, but I'm shocked at his free kick abilities. Unfortunately, this either went off the post or off the goalkeeper, however you want to look at it, but it was super close, and he's been really close on a couple of chances now. Um, what do you think about him taking free kicks going forward?
Keep going. Like, you're just get him on frame. Like, that's the next step. Is like he clearly is getting it over or around the wall.
Yeah,
Um, this was also a really tough one. Like, it was still at that distance that is still challenging to get it up and back down over the wall. But you can see he's got the technique, he's got the form. He's going to challenge keepers if he keeps playing that way. Um, I think it's definitely a weapon for us, and we knew that we were going to need to have some other guys step up with Swiderski no longer on the roster. So it is going to be interesting to see, like, over time. Like, Bill Tuiloma was really effective in Portland as a free kick taker. So, like, Bill could wear that hat. Uranen. We saw Arfield later in the game have a really good chance. We've seen Vargas stand over the ball. I think Diagra can do it. Lee
yeah,
Alabada is going to potentially be able to step in there. If we end up
yeah.
signing a summer DP, like, we've got quite a few weapons. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Something for Uranen. I mean, yeah, it's electric. Like, we are threatening on free kicks, which is something that hasn't been the case through all 3 years.
What do you think about Yeri so far?
Like, hardly any notes. I mean, he's really good in 1v1 defending. He's very good at preventing entry balls, like earning those blocks. I think often he's been the guy that also understands when to step and cut out lanes when teams have uh, more elite players. Um, I think he played a role in shutting down Mukhtar in this game. But we've seen, like, against Miami and Messi, like, a
Mhm.
lot of that was Uranen.
Yep,
Um, there's just a lot to like about the way he plays the position. And in this game, what we didn't talk about when uh on our goal, what I really loved for Uranen on that opportunity was he made a marauding run. One of
mhm,
the things that I think we're going to need to continue to see throughout the season is when we have those guys make those attacking runs, get into the box, pop up in spots that defenses don't expect them to be. He
yep,
made a couple of really good touches inside the box, recognized the space, and made it very challenging for Nashville to mark him. And so that's all on the back of Uranen. And once again, that rub in the belly hunger, like, he was hungry to have a role in us getting a goal back. So Uranen, every week he shows up. I think he's a really consistent performer. I think he's provided stability to a position that for a really long time was a hole for us. And he should be leading the team in minutes, in my opinion. Like,
yep,
I'm hoping he's crossing the 3,000 minute mark at left back.
yeah. Unfortunately, we won't have him this weekend, but I agree. The more minutes he has, the better. He also found himself up there. He had it was a horrible shot, but he found himself up. I think it was maybe I can't remember what game it was now, but yeah, like I was like, oh, he's up there in the attack, and I think that does throw off the defenses. So to your point, I'd like to see more of that because I think it's effective. But yeah, he's basically my spirit animal right now. So I'm a big fan. We talked about the Arfield free kick. I think that was around like the 66th minute. I got to admit, from where I was sitting, I thought that went in because it did hit kind of the back of the net. I thought Yitteri was going to take it again, but Arfield stepped up and kind of to your point, we have some folks on this team that can take those. We don't have to just rely on Swiderski, but it will be interesting to see what happens when Abada comes in, like where everybody fits. Westwood was taking a lot of the corners and some of those, but I think he even himself was like, yeah, that's probably not what I need to be doing. We'll let someone else do that. But
Oh, there
so it's going
there
to be
was
interesting.
one corner I flipped out in the
I know
game.
it was so bad.
There,
It was so
there,
bad.
there, there was one corner that Westwood took that was a on the ground short corner that was like an immediate release for Nashville, and I think Byrne ended up picking up a yellow on that
Yeah.
play. But
Yeah.
I was so excited when the game started. I think I even tweeted about it. I know I tweeted about it, that it was our all trees lineup. We
That's
finally
right.
had
I
a
saw that. That's right.
massive height team. We had Ajimong, Tavarj, Diani, uh,
Mhm.
uh, Privet was out there, Malanda,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
lots of tall targets.
That's
And
right.
I was like, we're going to be threatening on set pieces. Like, we're going to be the ones that are going to get to dunk on some guys. And then we were the team that got dunked on. It was really
Exactly.
it hurt bad. I was like so disappointed. I was waiting for us to get that.
Yeah.
We didn't have that same quality crossing service that Nashville had on those two chances, which we
Yeah.
also didn't talk about that. Their only two goals were their only two shots on goal, which was really bummer. But
Yeah, I mean, Nashville had some chances that they probably should have buried. I think there was definitely one in the, I want to say the 61st minute that went, I think it was a chance that went wide, but like it had a weird curve on it. And
yeah,
like,
that was Muil. Yeah, Surridge
yeah,
and Muil both could have had braces.
yeah. So I think we got a little lucky, but yeah, it's just unfortunate that those two on goal went in and definitely could have been prevented. Let's talk about a call that was not a call, and that was against Big Pat again. Like I said, the ref had a doozy of a night, and MLS, please pay your damn refs because this is getting a little ridiculous. I believe it was the 83rd minute is the non PK call. I saw it live, thought it was a PK. Went back and watched this like 10 times. Gusler did a good job of putting out some videos on the on our socials, kind of slowed it down. If it was shoulder to shoulder, okay, but it was from behind in the back, and not only was it a bump, it was a follow through push, and I, for the life of me, cannot understand how this was not a PK. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts, Vaughn?
I I don't know that regular refs would have changed the call in the sense of I don't trust them either. But uh, I there was so much contact by Shaq Moore clearing Ajimong out of the play.
Yeah,
It was clear contact from behind. There was nothing even close to contact to the ball.
right.
Shoulder to shoulder. He's underneath
That's
Ajimong's
it's
arm. Like
that's exactly.
he's hitting him in the ribs. Like there is no shoulder there. Like
Yeah,
it was an atrocious call. Like and where we're maybe at fault, I don't know how we throw the ball in there. The ball re-entered play way too quick. Like
yeah,
we should have been up in arms. Somebody Urso or somebody should be like begging for a yellow from the ref.
yeah.
Like literally bump the ref and be like, is that a foul? Is that contact? Like give me the yellow and like go to the VAR monitor. This is absurd. I
Yeah,
don't know how it's not called. It was a mess, and once again, that was enough that we should have been able to equalize in the 83rd minute. Like we had where we built into the second half, like we regained control of the ball, possession. We were trying to break down their low block. I saw good moments of us having progressive passing, and that was the big thing from the Ajimong chance. Do you know who fed that ball into Ajimong on that chance that should have been a PK?
who?
Johnny.
No.
It was a deep ball from midfield, and of
I
course
think that was the second
Ajimong.
one, right? Because he, I'll
Yeah, the
talk.
second one.
I think he was the one in the first half too. So yeah,
Yep. Yeah. So like that is a good pass that we need to see more of on the
yeah,
regular, and that was encouraging. Just the play build up in general, and Ajimong being able to use his physicality, and that was like one of the few times he won one over McNaughton,
mhm,
and just insanity. I don't know how it didn't go to the monitor. But like and when you look at the other things that have gone to the monitor, like the PK that was called in favor of Copetti that then they took
mhm,
away, like comparatively, is like a joke.
yeah,
Can you imagine if they would have called this one a PK? They never would have rescinded it. There's no way.
yeah,
Just baffling.
yeah, yeah. The ref that night was god awful. There was also a missed elbow on Burn. Burn got elbowed in the face. Nothing happened. So wasn't a good night. I mean, I hate to make excuses, but Yeah, I think we got undone by the refs tonight.
It's
It probably should have ended 2-2, but I'm not saying we should have won, but it's unfortunate.
that's why it's a really frustrating game and a hard game to even like kind of do this review for. Is like
Right.
there were moments where, man, we did enough. We should have been able to earn points, but we also were the cause of our own demise, and the reason we were down 2 goals. Like we put
Yeah.
ourselves in that hole. It was preventable. We need to see better, but then also it was like we also did enough to get back into the game,
Exactly.
and that it's Nashville. The way that we've had blown results against Nashville, it just feels like we're consistently getting the short end of the stick against this team with these
Yeah.
late game calls, and it's absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
Just I, I hope the tide will turn. I mean, over time, eventually we will get those calls. It just didn't happen today. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's I think why this one has sat really nasty for a lot of us fans is because it's like we had 3 road results where we saw we should have gotten more than 1 point from those 3 road results,
Yeah.
and it's leaving that sour taste of like we're building that momentum. Things have changed. The tide's turning. We're playing with house money. Like we're gonna have that breakthrough, and now it feels like we're kind of rolling that back a little bit with 2 really tough matchups coming up. Um, but I'm gonna also say grain of salt. 3 road games. It happens. It's a long season. You
Mhm.
only need to win 3 or 4 road games to be a playoff team and be dangerous down the road. And I think we've seen good signs that we can remain competitive in this league.
Yeah, it was hard for me to assess this game, and again, I saw a lot of comments about Patrick because, like I said, he had a roller coaster type of game. In the 87th minute, he missed the open header too. By the way, so it's like
Mm.
he missed some clear chances, but also created a lot of chances. He could have had a PK, and if he would have gotten that, would we even be talking about some of these other moments? But let me get your, like I said, you haven't been on it in a few episodes. Let me get your kind of overall assessment of the season so far. You said that this game was kind of hard to really gauge where we are. Someone who's out there listening, would you say that we're in a good spot? We're like to be determined, or how do you assess this team so far?
I think we're where most fans probably thought we were going to be in the sense of this is actually the most points we've had through 4 games in a season, right? Like we haven't been at 4 points through 4 games. We've been in a deeper hole in all the other years. All the other years, the other 2 years. um, it feels like longer, doesn't it?
It does,
Uh,
yes.
um, I think that we see where we have some growing to do to be finishing our chances. It's great that we're getting more chances, but we need to see them end up in the back of the net. And the concerns about this team right now feel like we're short on options at the wing. We're waiting to get our DP or YDP in Lialabada. Capetti hasn't scored yet, so he lived up to that DP tag. I think he's played very, very well. I think some of his best games in a Charlotte shirt easily could have been at 2 or 3 goals, and he's sitting at 0.
Yeah,
So goals are all that matters. It, woulda, coulda, shouldas. It's a hard argument to hold. Um, and so that's going to be the question: is like, okay, Dean's system is starting to create some of those chances, but now we're not finishing them.
yeah,
Are we going to get to the point where we're scoring multiple goals a game that we can put games away? We've started to see some of those adversity points. We're starting to face a couple injuries, and how do we overcome that? And uh, yeah, there's question marks, but I have seen a huge improvement defensively. I mean, if we can keep on this pace where we're in the ballpark of giving up 35 to 45 goals, it's trending in the right way. We're playing teams that have performed well and played very well against them. We have watched these games and feel, man, there was more on the table at Vancouver. Man, there was more on the
Mhm.
table at Toronto. Oh, if a couple things would have gone our way against Nashville, we could have had it. And it's not like revisionist to say that. I think everybody can kind of recognize those moments. And it's not as much in past years where we were like trying to like search for and claw at those silver linings. Like, no, I genuinely feel like this team has a higher ceiling.
Mhm.
And if we keep being consistent and keep growing and learning from what we've done so far and get Abada in and settle into comfort levels together, I still have a belief in a really high ceiling for this team.
There's two positions that I want to get your thoughts on. Let's start up top. If all things being even, do you start Patrick or do you start Capetti?
I still start Capetti personally. I think
And
that what
but
Capetti does
yeah,
off ball is still to a very high level. I think he's been unfortunate to not finish a couple chances, and he should have. I really think he should be sitting at 3 goals right now, and he
yeah,
didn't play this game. Obviously, like he's literally played to a level that if a little bit went differently, he would be tied for the Golden Boot lead right now. Well, not
yeah,
now. Now that the number's at 4, but like he has done
sure.
enough to get into those dangerous positions and impact the game with minimal service still. It's not like he's getting 4 looks on goal every game. Uh, Now you could say, oh, well, that's because he's not making those opportunities. No, he's busting his chops out there trying to make those moments happen. I'm seeing it break through, and I think he has what it takes to be a 15 plus goal scorer. I said put him down for 15. I'm standing by that. I still think he can get to 15 because I think he can score 3 goals in 3 games. I think he
Mhm.
has that in him. And I think if he gets a little bit of comfort, Liel Abada is going to absolutely change that dynamic out there, and he's able to go hard and recognize like, yeah, I've got Ajumong as a weapon on the bench that's going to come in and step in. Like I just think if we give it a little bit more patience, it's going to pay dividends.
Okay, I lied. I think I have two more positions that I want to get your thoughts on
Okay.
because you mentioned Abada when he's in the team and clearly starting. Who plays on the other side of him, on the other wing?
I think Kerwin Vargas still is the starter there, but it's good that Tavares is there to push him because we've
Mhm.
seen Tavares play very well. I think that he can be a weapon, and some of it may end up being opponent specific, form specific. But if we, it depends on which Vargas we're getting in training and in regular season play. Like down the
Yeah.
stretch last year, we saw he was a different player those final 6, 7 games. And he was finding the score sheet and he was dangerous both as a creator and putting the ball on frame. And right now, it's very hard, I think, for Vargas to do that from the right wing. It's just not it's not the same level of comfort for him. So I still think that in an ideal world, with the lineup we've got, I would have Vargas as the starting left winger and Abada as the starting right winger.
Okay. Last one. Who plays alongside of Westwood?
That's a tougher one.
Yeah.
That's a much tougher one. There's been a lot that I've liked about Ursa. I think he brings
Same.
a certain maturity and a certain confidence to the position, and I think he knows how to be on a winning side in this league. But I we saw what Gianni brought to the table in this game.
Yeah.
He is and I've heard he is very technically gifted. I think we've just started to scratch the surface of getting to see what he can bring to the table on that. To me, he has a lot of the same skill set of being strong on the ball that Jones had, with a
Mhm.
much better ability to see downfield and make those
Yeah.
forward progressive passes. Uh, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think Gianni ended up with like it was like 84% about on his passing. Like he protected the ball very well, was all over the place. I mean, he was getting out wide at sometimes, getting interplay with Uranen. He was dropping deep at times, receiving the
Mm.
ball and bringing it forward. He was good in some recoveries. He's long.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to go in for a tackle. He cut out a couple of passing opportunities. I don't think he put a lot of like for how young he is. Like he can be the Malanda of the midfield, of being that young French guy coming in
Mhm.
that can quickly make his mark as a starter in the team and a pivotal player for us. So yeah, beside Westwood, once again, the other question is as the season progresses, are we in a defensive pivot?
Hmm.
I don't know that we're gonna have somebody next to Westwood because I wouldn't be shocked if we end up with two attacking guys. Like if we end up signing a summer
Right.
DP, right? Like then the question is who's playing as the second as an eight? Is it Diagra? Is it Arfield? Is it Gianni? Is it Bronico getting a run out there? Like there's going to be a lot of options. But right now, your question was who do I see getting the bulk of minutes alongside Westwood? I think it's going to be Gianni.
Okay. Are you pretty optimistic about the rest of the season, considering we're still light on subs? We have injuries, and now we're gonna have a Bada and then also a DP.
I said on Top Bin 90 a couple weeks ago, or it was just a little over a week ago. I see us having our ceiling as high as third or fourth. And I know that that is a hot take that people are like, Vaughn, you're full of it. Um, I believe in the defensive structure that I'm seeing. I
Mhm.
believe in the vibe I get is that we're going to also be able to adjust tactically or be able to we're not going to see ourselves getting broken down the same way all season long like we saw
Yeah.
under Latanzio. I think we
Right.
already have a baseline, a base structure that is much harder to break down. So, okay, if we're starting to see, hey, teams are starting to find that way to switch the point of attack and they're hitting these crosses, like right now, these past two games, we've had a wonder strike and
Mhm.
two ridiculous crosses into the box that that's just not going to happen every single week.
Yeah.
Like it's just not. And I think we've been a little bit unfortunate on that. And it's when we're having all of this travel, it's when we're away from home. Like we're going to get more home games. We're going to play in tough environments where you're fighting the elements more. June and July in Houston is going to be a whole nother beast, right?
Mhm.
So I just feel that the addition of Abada is going to open up a lot of things in our attack and in transition. Our ability to still add a U22 and to add a DP, I've seen that play out for other teams historically in MLS of being able to make that summer edition and really push a team forward. I just feel that as Dean gets more time with these guys in training and as these players start to get more comfortable in that system, which they already seem very comfortable in and very well connected, like that's what was a little bit off in this game. Like some of that fluidity and some of that connection wasn't quite the same that we've seen in some of those first few games. So yeah, I see a very high ceiling for what we can be if we can remain compact defensively and continually get more fluid in the attack.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's stop there and hear a word from our sponsors, and we will be back with some fan Q&A.
Swift, you hear the music, you know what that means. We're here for our wonderful ad sponsor and ad break for the Men's City Soccer Show. So this show is brought to you by Who Swift.
Renegade goalkeeping.
So big thank you to Renegade Goalkeeping. They're amazing. So right now, all Renegade Goalkeeping gloves come with their like 30-day, no questions asked warranty for exchanges and defects. That's kind of what you always get. By joining their now like VIP club, they give you a total of 60 days of coverage. And the great thing about the VIP club is both the warranty and the insider access. Members get deals and specials that the general public don't even see. So head to their website, sign up, enjoy all the great things that Renegade has. Again, Ryan, the owner, is a Mint City Collective member. He's a really great guy. It's a local business, so go support them and go follow Renegade.
And if you're wanting to follow them on social, make sure you do that. Renegade GK, and their website is renegade-gk.com. So thanks again, Renegade, and we'll be right back.
All right, we are back. Thank you so much for Renegade Goalkeeping being our sponsor. And now we bring up Corey and Sco to kick us off on the fan Q&A. Hey, Corey, how are you doing?
Good. I've realized that my role in this show is that I'm halfway decent at reading. So this is when I get to come on, not share opinions, just read things. So it's a gift. I'd like to thank my my elementary school teachers for helping me with that, and it's really paying off.
Especially the foreign names, right?
Especially the foreign names. Yeah, we'll get there. All right, so let's dive into these. We got a bunch. I'm probably gonna be able to get through all of them. I might skip a few because we've already touched on some of this throughout the conversation. So apologies in advance to anybody that I don't actually read your question. We'll start with Matt Chantry. My serious question, which that's how it starts, which means there's a silly question coming later, just a little teaser there. But he says, my serious question is around the midfield this season, specifically around lazy passes. I feel like they have increased this season. Let's call them unforced errors. The attack hasn't been great, but also we've been without our best three attackers on the pitch at the same time, Abada, Enzo, Vargas. So I have patience there. The midfield is pretty set, and I'm worried about those unforced errors. Even Westwood isn't up to his usual high passing standards. There's actually not a question here. I guess just anybody want to discuss the midfield and some of the passing we've seen. I'll start with you this time, Vaughn.
Okay. I think that we are trying to be more progressive in our passing, and so it doesn't always come off. I think that it's where those turnovers are happening. I think that when we have those passes that are lazy, they're happening in zones of influence where we're not at high risk of a dangerous transition going the other way. So I think it's having that freedom to try and find the pass, try and break the line, try stuff. So is there a greater frequency of those? I don't sense that. I don't feel that there's a higher frequency of like, oh, why did he make that pass? Oh, it's terrible. What are you doing? No, I think that there's a clear reason that some of those passes are happening. They're to try and be threatening and to try and be attacking. I'm happy in when those are happening. It's as I said, it's not putting us in spots where, oh, we just started a fast break the other way.
Yeah, I agree. I think last season was a lot of safe passes. This year, it's like you were saying, Vaughn, it's a lot of progressive passing and trying different things. Those balls out of the back from Gianni to Patrick is a perfect example, I think, of that. And those are not always going to come off. And I'm okay with that, trying things and launching balls forward, right? Sometimes it's just 50-50 if those come off. So I'm okay with that. Again, like you were saying, it's like where are those passes coming from? If those lazy passes are then immediately putting us under pressure, like I thought, like we did last year, that's a different story. But I'm not really seeing that. so far this season.
All right. Let's get into our next question from Russell Varner. And also, I just gotta say, we have people asking like multiple questions throughout this. So like, which I kind of love. So like we've got, I think Russell asked 3. I think we're gonna skip one of them because you already talked about it, but we got some dedicated question askers here, so I appreciate that. So Russell asks his first question. Expected goal differential says we should start scoring goals eventually. But at what point do you start worrying about the lack of goals? I'll start with you, Matt.
I'm a little worried already. I just think we've missed a lot of chances.
Yeah.
And some of those chances have cost us some points. But the thing is like we're creating chances. We're trying new things. Eventually, these are going to come off if we keep at it. And I like the style of play that we have. I think it's just a matter of time. I do think we've gotten very, very unlucky. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Goals are coming. They're going to happen. I'd be more concerned if we were still watching us like, oh, we only got one shot this game. Only one on front. We're not challenging the keeper at all. Like, no, we're in the past few weeks, like Takaoka and Gavron came up huge on Capetti. Like, what can you do? Like you just can't. I also think we're going to have more opportunities that are on the doorstep. I think our goal chances are happening in more dangerous spots than they have in years past. And so I think that we're going to be okay. Like we're getting those chances inside the box, right in front of goal. We're seeing opportunities for more of the cutback passes. We're seeing more balls going horizontal across the box. Like it's going to hit. It's going to hit. As long as you're consistent, it will hit.
Yeah, I can't remember if I said it on the air here or pre or post show, or I think I said it on Threads at some point too. Multiple places, but preseason, it was the logical part of me is like, let's not worry so much about the wins, losses, anything like that, the points we're scoring, anything. Like look at the style of play. Like that's what I'm most concerned about, especially early this season. How does the team actually look like when they're playing with the ball and moving forward, and how that passing look? And I'm very happy with how it is. So like their goals are going to come. Like I think you're right. Things look, I can tell a distinct difference in the way this team plays than previous teams, and I'm really excited about that. It's unfortunate that we haven't seen it all pay off yet, but I think it's coming.
Well, and I missed talking about it on our opening, like our goal in this game. Like we also had 2 beautiful switches of play on that. Like I think it was once again Johnny to Diagra at one point, and then Burn to Urinen. Like we had some gorgeous build-up play in that goal, and then the interplay in the box, like Urinen finding Diagra, but that was after Ajamang's layoff back to Urinen. So like there was good stuff happening there. That we're going to see that more often.
Yeah. And real quick, I think one of the things that's is a concern for some fans is that early in the season, while we're trying to build this and we're not getting the goals, we're going to bury ourselves down the table. And I just, my thought is it's a very, very long season, and this division is super competitive, and we've seen it year in and year out. It's always close no matter what. So I would just say to counteract that is that we're going to be close. We're not going to get our doors blown off by the time the summer rolls around. And I actually think we're going to be in a very good shape. But yeah, the goals are going to come. So don't worry, guys. We're going to be all right.
Awesome. All right, let's keep moving through. We've got one from John Penix here. Do you have any updates on the injury status and timelines for Bender, Bronico, Cambridge, and Capetti? I won't pick on anybody. If anybody has any answers to this one, I'll let you jump in and share.
I can take a little stab at it.
Right.
I think Bronico is closer than probably anybody else. I could be wrong on that. I would say Bender, Cambridge, and I'm not entirely sure about Capetti. I don't know the extent of the injury. Again, he might be one that I can have an update on Thursday. Hopefully, it's not a long-lasting injury, and he can get right back in, because I think it'd be good for him to get quickly back into this team and in the mix, just for him personality, mentally, like getting right back in there, not taking a lot of time off because what sucks is that you're not scoring goals and you're struggling and you're probably hearing some things from some fans and then getting injured and not being able to do anything about it. So I'm hoping he can come right back in pretty quickly.
And I will say this for Copetti, I haven't heard one peep about any of these, seeing a specialist or whatever. Guys,
Yeah.
do not make a
Yeah.
thing out of that, please. I haven't heard one peep about that. I don't think there's any validity to that.
Exactly. I was kind of frustrated at that report and rumor that came out. And here's the thing, like mental health is somebody's personal business too. It's really no one's business. I know, especially with all the things that happened last season with the passing of a player and some off-field nonsense that happened. I know the team is putting a bigger emphasis on just help for these players, not just, mentally, but like just getting acclimated to the city, getting housing and all this stuff. I think there's a bigger effort. And if Capetti needs it, I'm sure he's going to get it. But honestly, to me, my personal take is it's not something that I'm going to be talking about on the show. And it's something I'm not going to be reporting on. But again, I think hopefully he can get right back in and do his thing. And I know that will goals cure all.
That's the truth. That's the theme of this. All right. So we'll move on to the next one. This is Russell's second question. Russell Varner asks, related to the injury question, but more of an opinion thing versus injury / international duty. Which loss is bigger, Enzo, Kerwin, or Urnin? I can't say that name very well. Urnin. I feel like I'm mumbling. Vaughn, do you want to answer?
Go ahead,
So I
Vaughn.
stop mumbling?
Yeah. It's a tough question because I think they all have their role within the team and something that they bring to the table. Personally, you guys have heard how high I am on Enzo. I think he's going to be critical to our success. I believe a lot in him. I think him getting on the right track is going to be important. And I also, for what this question is, I get the sense that he's the one that, it's more up in the air of how long he's going to be out. So I'm going to say Enzo. He's our DP on the books. He's the guy that we need to, even just for narrative, even just for like fans, frankly, shutting up about it, we need him to be impactful. And so, to me, I need to see Enzo get out there and be impactful and silence some people.
I like it. How about you, Matt?
I do like that answer, but I think I'm going to say Urin and Vaughn. I want to get your take on this because I know there's a player that you really like that might have an opportunity here. So who takes Yeri's spot? Does Byrne move over? Does Jalen finally get some minutes? What are your thoughts on that?
I think what's going to happen is I think João Pedro is going to get the start at left back. I just, that's what my gut is telling me. I don't know anything, factual to that. But in the past, have we seen Byrne switch to that side and Jalen Lindsey get the start at right back? Yeah, we've seen that. I want Jalen to get his moments. That was actually something I was hoping we were going to see at the tail end of the Nashville game was Lindsey to be able to be in that position to be asked, hey, we're losing by a goal. Get forward, force Schaffelberg to have to stay back the way right now they're pushing us the other direction. Like you got fresh legs, you haven't played yet. Go earn the minutes and like make the most of your opportunity. Don't be afraid to get aggressive and attack and send some balls in. Like I wanted to see Lindsey for that reason. So could he get those minutes here? With Yere out, could I get the sense that we're going to see guys stay in their more home positions. And so that's why I'm saying I believe I would see João Pedro most likely starting at left back, but we'll know shortly.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll have a better idea Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. So we won't read it off. People on YouTube saw it, but y'all predicted and jumped into Sam Lerner's question about who replaces Erwin when he's out. So we'll move on from there as well too. All right. So our next question comes from Eric Hill. He says, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I saw in conversations that if Verona falls to relegation, there's a possibility Swiderski can void that contract and return to Charlotte FC. Verona is currently only 2 points above relegation. If the opportunity presented itself, would you bring back Swiderski with the current roster? Do you think he would see more success with the current roster and coach?
I want to provide a little bit of a clarifier there.
Sure, go for it.
It's not Swiderski's call to make on whether or not the deal goes through.
Right.
It's Hellas Verona's call on if the deal goes through. So if they are promoted, automatic trigger, he automatically will be transferred to Hellas Verona. If Hellas Verona gets relegated, Hellas Verona still has the right to trigger the purchase option. It's their call. But to answer your question, would I bring back Swiderski with the current roster? No, because he's not part of the long-term plans. I don't get the sense he really wants to be here. I don't think that he fits into what this team is trying to do. We already had that problem of 2 number 9s and having to play him out of position. So no, I don't want him here. I want him off the books, and I want us to go sign an actual big DP central attacking midfielder. Would he see more success with this current roster and coach? I think he would see about the same. He could improve a little bit. I think he still wouldn't be set up for success playing out of position, but I think that the system and style would create more opportunities for him because it's better structured for everyone. But he also played to a pretty high level. Like, he was getting 17, goal contributions. That's a lot. So he's got to still cover that and make up beyond that. So I think that answers the question from my perspective.
Yeah. Matt, anything you want to add?
No, I 100% agree. I wouldn't bring him back. I don't think he wants to be back. And that's not a knock against Swiderski, like me not wanting him back. I think he asked to go, wanted to go.
Yeah.
I think he made it well known. So go do that thing. I honestly think with him in the lineup, it caused some friction, and you're playing him out of place, like Vaughn was saying. It caused more problems than anything. So, and again, not a knock on him. It's just the situation that he was in. So I think all parties involved, it's best not to do it.
Yeah, so let me ask a follow-up question real quick. So is the assumption that if for some reason on the off chance he does get, Verona says we don't want to do this anymore, we got relegated, we're not gonna take him, do we just immediately loan him back out and train? Like, what do you expect the team to do in that case?
I think they'll try to do anything they can to get him to a team that he wants. And that's been the good thing about this front office, is they have been sometimes overly accommodating to players because they want to have a good reputation and do right by these folks, for the agent, for the players, because they all talk. And if you have a good reputation, it's absolutely. So I think they're going to do everything that they can to find a nice home for Swiderski.
Awesome. All right. Keep moving forward. We had a couple questions that were basically the same the one was from Ted Polfelt, and then one was from Thomas Hughes. I'll pull up Thomas's real quick. What did you think about Gianni's debut performance? I think we touched on this when you are kind of going over the game recap. Anything else either of you want to add? I'll start with you, Matt.
I know. I was pleasantly surprised. Like I said, I was shocked that he started. I thought he would come on as a sub. I think he gives us a different dynamic. He can pass the ball really well. Vaughn, you mentioned Derek Jones. One of the big knocks for me about Derek Jones is, like, yes, defensively good, tall, can pass, but the passes are short, backwards to the side. He doesn't have what Gianni has, and what we saw a couple times Saturday night is those balls through the channels to someone. And he's very technically gifted, and I was, very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, absolutely. Vaughn, want to add anything?
Yeah, no, I mean, I really like what I've seen so far. What I've heard about him is very good. I think that we're definitely going to see him. It's not like he's going to be just a depth piece for us. He's going to be getting minutes, and early returns look good. I'd like to see how he also develops under Dean. And beyond that, probably the one thing I still have to get used to a little bit is just his movement. Dude's a giraffe. Like
Mhm.
his movement is just it takes a little bit of an adjustment getting used to it. But we've seen that the team also, I think, likes some of those kind of um, twitchy, little bit different movement, kind of bring something different to the table kind of players. We've seen that with like Yuri Tavares, and we've seen it a little bit with Ajimong. Like some of those lanky guys, they provide a different sort of weapon on the field, and so I'm curious to see how Diani can utilize those physical attributes to his advantage.
Awesome. All right. It should come as no surprise that a lot of the questions we got were about the penalty call that did not happen. My favorite is the rhetorical from Joe Garcia. What the hell does Charlotte FC have to do to get a PK? I feel you. I feel you, Joe. We don't need to answer that. We're all on the same page. A version of it that I do like, that I want to read out from Fatbird that we can talk about. I can't say Fatbird with a straight face. So the question, it's a long one, so I'll read through this all. How does Pat's penalty not get reviewed? Does Mukhtar get the same no call? And not trying to make games 4 hours long, but wouldn't we all be better off if they just called penalties in the box that looked questionable and just reviewed them like Enzo's a couple matches ago that just rather than just blatantly miss easy calls? Not saying we lost because of it, but it's getting old that in year 3, these never seem to go away. And I just want to say that, like, I always feel like most fans feel like the calls don't go away, but I specifically feel like whenever anything is like reviewable or not, or going to be reviewed, I swear it never falls our way. It just feels like we're cursed in that respect. So anyway, there's a lot of questions involved here. Let's start with, why do we feel like this didn't even get looked at? Why was it not even reviewed? Anybody have any thoughts? Just shaking the head, just completely confused. Yeah.
My only thought that the reason they could have deemed it to not be a foul, the only thinking to me was they felt Ajimong was looking for the contact, and that he, like, held up his run to draw the contact. Like his feet do kind of drag, like they do kind of like stay together, but I read it at full speed and in slow-mo as, yeah, he got trucked. he got hit in the ribs from behind and didn't know how to, like, stay on your feet. And maybe that too is like he's a big dude. So you see Shaq Moore run into him and like, oh, he's like, Shaq Moore is going to take him down with a little bump.
It's the Cam Newton effect. It's the Cam. If we want to switch sports, it's the Cam Newton effect.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's what it feels like. Yeah.
That's exactly right, Corey. I think it calls Patrick's a big guy. He's not getting some of these calls. If it was Heine Mukhtar, like Donnie is saying, it is 100% being called. 100%.
Yeah. So the second part of the question I want to bring up that I thought was interesting is like his part about, why don't we just call the penalties and then look at them? So it reminds me of, I mean, if we want to talk about like kind of the way they play offside these days, where it's like you don't raise the flag when it's questionable until you know for sure that you've gotten it radioed in, like, yeah, it's offside, let's go and raise the flag. You get those delayed offside calls. Or you see it again, to talk about football, you see it with
touchdowns.
Yeah, or like turnovers or like fumbles and things like that. They'll let the play out so that they can go back and look at it and decide what they want to do, right?
Sure.
Like those really close plays. And again, I agree with him that I don't want to make like it a review game where you're having to look at the monitor 30 times a game or something crazy like that. But is there something to be like, if there's a lot of contact in the box, let's just go ahead and blow the whistle and take a look at it and then decide then. What are y'all's thoughts on that as far as how it may affect the flow of the game or anything like that? Vaughn?
What I didn't like was typically they still have a conference. Like,
right.
I've seen enough where I've heard what the refs are really saying, and they could still confer with the booth. And they say, what did you see? Hey, side judge, what did you see?
Yeah.
Did you see any contact there? I wasn't seeing the signs of any conversation happening. There wasn't a pause, hold play. Let's have this discussion. Let me make sure everybody gets their say in, because it was at minimum borderline. Guy goes down in the box late in the game.
Yeah.
With clear physical contact. Did anybody deem that to be borderline? Okay, let's go take a look at the monitor. And so, do I think that it would destroy, like, probably the part that I wouldn't like of, oh, just call all the penalties and let
Right.
them go to review, is it takes
Yeah.
away from the beauty of the game. It's not the intent of the beautiful game.
Sure.
It takes away from that DNA of what the sport is. But I think you also want to get the call right, and that's what I think is the real missed thing here. Is I think it, even if it happened against us, I'd be like, we saw it against Nashville twice last year. Contact in the box, like Burn turning a guy in the box, and you're like, it's borderline. I don't like the call, but like I see why they called it.
Yeah.
I don't think any Nashville fan would have said anything against if a penalty would have been called there.
Yeah, and I know, Matt, you want to say something too. The only thing I'll say real quick is that I think that's what frustrates me and probably a lot of fans too, is that we've seen some of the penalties that have been called on Charlotte over the past 3 years that are very questionable, very soft, very minor things late in games that have led to bad results, especially last year. It's hard to see something like that and be like, where is this coming from? So, Matt, go ahead. I know you have something you want to say.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it would slow the game down some, but also too how it's supposed to work is whatever is the call on the field, that's supposed to be what it is, and you have to have irrefutable evidence to overturn it. So I don't know if that's part of it, but yeah, you want to get the call right. And for this particular one, it just makes no sense to not even review it.
Right.
And, it doesn't look like they even had any conversation about it at all, which is completely baffling to me. But yeah, we have a refereeing problem on all fronts. Our normal refs are not that great, but they, need to be paid. And maybe if you paid people well, you'd get better refs. But these replacement refs are also hot garbage. So it just sucks all around.
Yeah, I think I said this on the show before. The guy that sits beside me in my seats is a college ref. He's great. It's really entertaining to kind of hear his thoughts on the way refs are. But I'll ask him, like, can you please, like, first game, I was like, why aren't you down there? Like, I need to see you filling in here. He's like, I don't want none of that. Like, no, I don't want to deal with any of that stuff right now. But he knows a lot of the guys who are doing it now because, like, they're all in that kind of orbit of the guys that are filling in, or a lot of the ones doing the colleges like that. So it's just fascinating. Let's jump to. We've answered this question before, I feel like, but I'm going to pull it up again to see if we have any other thoughts on it. While we're talking about hypothetical rule changes to make this go away, Eric Hill asks, and I believe again he's asked this on a last year when we talked about something similar. Should MLS coaches have a challenge flag like in the NFL? They throw the flag, they send the review over to the in-stadium VAR and to a separate central office to give a final rule. Like, basically not just waiting for the ref to get radioed in and we need to take a look at this, but the coach be able to say, I want y'all to look at this and force the challenge. Any thoughts there? I'll start with you, Matt.
Yeah, I get the thought behind this because again, the whole point is to get this right and give a team the opportunity to be like, hey, stop for a second. We need to look at this. Please look at this, right? But I just think it would disrupt the game and change the whole dynamic, unfortunately. But
yeah. No, I think you're right. I mean, I think it's to Vaughn's point earlier when he was talking about how it messes up the flow of the game. I think that's not how it's meant to be played. But Vaughn, any other thoughts there?
Yeah, it's not in the spirit of the game. Like, I don't think it's what I think a lot of purists would be really put off by that. But if there's a league that's going to do it, Major League Soccer is the league that's going to do it.
That's true. Yeah, whether we like it or not.
Right. I think it's far-fetched. I don't think it's going to happen. I personally wouldn't want it because I also don't trust that certain coaches that play that gamesmanship card wouldn't also use it in that way to impact the flow of the game, start a riot, piss somebody off, make it so that a game ends up having 40 minutes of stoppage time. Like, I just don't trust that it would go the way we all would hope and dream.
That's a very good point. I hadn't thought about that aspect. You're absolutely right. All right.
Yeah.
Keep moving through. We got we got more than a few more left, but I'm powering through them. Again, more rhetorical, but I want to bring up Jay Landskroner's question. Vaughn, you weren't in Nashville, were you? It was just Matt that was in Nashville. Okay, so this is a Matt question. What's worse, the fact that MLS commentators can't talk about the ref lockout, the ref lockout itself, or Nashville ops groping Charlotte fans anytime they left and came back from the stands? Matt.
Oh boy, there's a lot of things I want to say here. First of all, it is very interesting that if you go back and look at the replay on Apple Plus of this game, a lot of the controversial calls are not even, they don't show them. To me, that says a little bit there.
Drives me crazy.
What's worse? Okay, so I let me give a little bit of color behind Jay's question here. I got to be careful what I say too. So it wasn't a fun night in Nashville. I'll just say that. So walking in, we go through security, which is normal, right? We all go through in as a group, and they take you in early, so you're not mingling with the other fans, and things can get started. So we get chaperoned in, and so we're searched, right? Head to toe, patted down. All that's perfectly fine. I'm okay with all of that. We're good. We get into the stadium. We get led up to our section. They push us up to the very, very top. They did not get the seating right. They roped off places that shouldn't have been, or we weren't told, and people couldn't sit in the spots that they had tickets for. It was a huge mess to start with. But here's the thing. Every time that I would go use the bathroom, go get water, go get food, I would get patted down on the way back to my seat. So did everybody else. So I got patted down 5 times in one night, 1 coming through the gate and then 4 other times, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. Now, I found out, though, and maybe some people don't know this, why they even were being kind of sticklers about this was because I guess when DC came, there was multiple fights. There were knives that were confiscated and a taser, apparently. So, again, I get some precaution, but am I going to stash a knife in the urinal, like in the Godfather, and come back out? Like what is happening? And so it was overkill. The security there is super aggressive. They need to go to de-escalation school, because they would just come up and start yelling at people in I got to just talk normal to someone. So it was a huge mess. Charlotte FC had some security guys there too, and I felt horrible for them because they're not in charge. They're just there to try to protect us, make sure nothing happens. They have to listen to the Nashville folks. So I know some people were frustrated at our own security people, but they have to do what Nashville says. Right. So they're just trying to enforce the rules, whether they're dumb or not. People got kicked out for flipping the bird. Multiple people got kicked out for flipping the bird. Maybe the person that asked this question may have flipped the bird. I don't know.
Hypothetically
yeah. May have, but it's just it kind of soured the night. Maybe if we would have won, it would have been better, or pulled out a point. But it was super unfortunate. I do get some of the security measures, but it rubbed a lot of people wrong. Here's the thing. If you make Hector mad, Sombrero man, if you make him mad, then something is wrong. He's the nicest person I think I've ever met in my life. And security went up and I think talked to his wife about a blanket that she had on, and thought it was like a sign or something. It's so unbelievably absurd. So I'm hoping something gets done about that, because that's just no way to treat anybody. And I feel bad for the Nashville fans having to put up with that themselves, because I've heard that it's just as bad normally with them.
By the 3rd pat down, I think I would have put nacho cheese in my back pocket. And we have 1 year to game plan for this happening next year, everyone.
Yeah.
Put on your thinking caps and let's make them regret it.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, you should check this pocket.
Then they're gonna kick you out. It's be like, why is the Charlotte section half empty, 15 minutes?
Why do they all have corn dogs in their pockets? What is happening?
Exactly.
let me go ahead.
Okay. No, you go ahead. Go ahead, Corey.
I was going to ask, sitting near the Charlotte away section, like in my season tickets, are like a section over, and they're way in the back. Of course, they put them as far back as they can when it's just lower bowl, not upper bowl. They put them way even higher up, but just lower bowl. They're like 2 or 3 sections over and up from me, and like I barely even see security at our games, and like and usually doesn't cause a problem. There's a lot of times some good natured like chanting back and forth of the surrounding fans, but it's like, and maybe it gets a little escalated beyond like friendly chanting, but it's never that bad. And I feel like our security presence, I'm sure it's there, but it's not noticeable in any kind of real way. Like they come down to the concourse, they're doing their thing, like it's fine. So it's just crazy to me that we're going to these lengths to like try to protect, or I don't know, like just trying to be overly aggressive with away fans coming in. Like what are we doing?
Yeah, they had at least 3 security folks up where we were, which is at the very, very top, like just literally standing with us. And then there were like 3 or 4 down below at the very front of the section, and then plus our security guys. So it was overkill. And like I said, anytime that they would come up to talk to someone, it was not, hey, do you mind? Hey, don't flip off the camera. If they'll kick you out. We'll have to kick you out. Please don't. That's all you got. You can just be nice about it. They were like, hey, you're flipping off the camera. Do you want to, hey, do you want to get ejected? Hey, do you want to get ejected? Like, it was uncalled for. But I will say this, Nashville fans are great. They're always super nice. We went to we were a guest of a tailgate for a couple of the Nashville supporter groups. They were all fantastic. They are really, really good people. And I'm sorry that they have to deal with their own security about that. But I just wanted to say that they were nothing but nice people. We had a great time on this trip. Mint City Collective had a ton of people going, and just did some Broadway fun and went to Tootsie's and Whiskey River. Had a good old time.
That sounds much nicer than the experience in the stadium. So that's good. And yeah, we're not talking about the fans.
Friday, Friday night was awesome. Saturday night, not so great.
All right. One more question related to all this, and we're going to jump into the fun questions. So let's see. All right. From Bryant, where does the missed call on Pat in the box stack for you since CLTFC has existed? I don't know, like Vaughn, if I'll start with you on this. Do you have like a ranking of other slights given to Charlotte FC by referees that you want to stack above that, or is this the worst one you've seen? I'm putting you on the spot. That's so much history.
I'm like going through the Rolodex of questionable bad calls. I'll say the one that started it all, which was the McCoon extended arm call at the very beginning of our existence. I think that was the jinxer. I think that's the one that started it all. No, I mean, gosh, I mean, there's the honestly, some of the burn calls against Nashville really do stand out. Like those were some questionable calls that definitely changed like what happened. Probably something from that first season though, because I think had something gone different, that could have changed our trajectory, made us find our way into the playoffs and given us those few extra points. So I don't know. I'm probably forgetting a critical one.
Well,
there's a lot.
What was the one? It was we did an episode after, we called it the Montreal screw job. A slight nod to Bret Hart in wrestling. It was a shot that should have been like offsides, like interference, but they didn't call it. It was blatantly.
Wasn't that the handball in the box where it was?
Yes. Yeah. You're right. You're right.
It was the shot that went right off the hand and like was goal bound.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. He jumped up. Maybe there were 2.
Was there another one with Montreal and Chouinier where it was like, I think it should have been called off. That was one that was not called, where Chouinier was offside and obstructed the view of the goalie.
I think that. Yeah. I think that's the one I was talking about.
That's the one I was
thinking
of.
Clearly obstructed. But you're right. The handball too. I forgot. Yeah, there's so many, man. Like I
But the
I
moral of
guess I've
this, the
just
moral of this
started to like
story is
watch
there's so
a lot.
many to choose from. So many that we've forgotten most of them at this point.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into the fun questions and then we can wrap this thing up.
boy.
Sam Lerner asks, I guess this is in the Nashville tradition. What's your favorite country song or artist? Matt, you look really excited, so I'm going to start with you. So Vaughn,
Yes.
think about it. I'm not sure if Vaughn has an answer ready to go for us.
Yeah. So Waylon Jennings, Did Hank Really Do It This Way? Is one of my favorite country songs. And I didn't hear it the whole time I was in Nashville. I had to request it. I've got to say, some of these like younger country singers, they sing a lot of pop music and know a lot of pop songs and not a lot of old school country. But yeah, Waylon Jennings, man. Anything Waylon Jennings, I'm all about. Or the Highwaymen. I'm a big Johnny Cash fan.
I say you're like
I went to the Johnny Cash
old
Museum.
school.
Yeah, like I went in September to the Johnny Cash Museum, and I went again this time, and I will go every single time that I go. My son's middle name is Cash, so big fan. But yeah, these new singers, man, they don't know old school country, man. It's all pop music, Taylor Swift crap.
Hey, don't start on Taylor Swift now. Those fighting
go.
words. How about you, Vaughn?
Yeah.
So okay, I'm gonna probably lose some fans. I'm gonna end up painting some targets on myself here. I do not like country music.
I had a feeling that was
I
coming.
used to joke growing up in KC that it was the bane of my existence. And when I moved to the Carolinas for college, my college roommate was a country music artist. He is actually performing at CMA Fest. His name's Kanan Cox. Go check him out. He's an awesome country artist. But yeah, and the song that used to be the bane of my existence growing up, they still do this at Kansas City Royals games, is they play Friends in Low Places. And it is nails on a chalkboard for me. So
I did hear that. I did hear that this weekend.
It follows me everywhere. I had a trivia night like a month ago, and I was like in a tiebreaker question, and it literally ended up being Friends in Low Places. It's like the only song I even know the name of. Still missed the question. So yeah, country music and me are like oil and water.
So I have to say, Vaughn, I'm in general with you. I never liked it. I hate, even growing up in North Carolina, my whole life, never liked it. And I still don't like any country that you'll hear on the radio. If you're listening to a country station, there's a decent chance none of those songs I like. But I finally found like the niche of country that I do like. And it's more of that, like there's so many different names for it. It's like whether like want to call it like outlaw country or like folky or Americana. Like it's a weird
Americana,
it's like kind of the subset of like the like, I mean, Stapletons you probably hear on radio sometimes now, like Chris Stapleton, Jason Isbell, like more of like harkening back to like the older style country. You know,
I'm the same.
The roots music. Like that's what I want to hear. I will listen to that like crazy, but the pop country that dominated, especially for so much in like the 2000s and even so some now, like that's I can't do that. And there's so much of that you
Beyonce. Yeah.
Beyonce. Great answer.
I heard that. I heard that song a lot this weekend. That was on repeat quite a bit.
I love that. That's great. That's a good answer. All right. The most random question we got, but we have some other ones after this one. This was Matt's silly question. Matt Chantry, we alluded to this at the top. If a vampire bit a zombie, would the zombie turn into a vampire or would the vampire turn into a zombie? Vaughn.
Yes. They would both.
That's the only right answer.
You would have a vampire zombie and a zombie vampire. Yes.
Because you can only kill a zombie by shooting it stabbing it in the brain. Vampires through the heart. Both can't technically die unless you do one of those things, depending on
unless the vampire accidentally ate the brains of the zombie, like.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Really deep thoughts here. Really deep thoughts.
Yeah.
All right. So we
you
have a question, or a couple of 3 questions, I should say, from someone named David Goosler. It says, first time caller, long time questioner. Matt, since sports betting has become allowed, we've lost the last 2 games you've bet on. Sounds like this David knows you pretty well, Matt. I don't recognize this name, but he sounds like he knows who you are. Will you continue to bet on CLTFC?
Till I die, till I am dead in the ground, I will bet on this team. I'll
Or
go
broke,
into the
whichever happens
poorhouse.
first.
Or broke.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
So I've
gonna-
never bet
yeah.
on. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
No. I was gonna say, like, just always gonna bet on my team.
See, I've never bet on sports before, and so when I started when it was legal, I was like, oh, let's play around with this to get like the free bonus bets from whatever.
Mhm.
I've so far refused to bet on any of my teams. Like, I don't want that added stress of like money being involved with the teams I care about. So like the only things I'll bet on are games where like it has nothing to do with any teams that I care about, and it's just more like, I'm gonna put $5 on, NC State to beat Duke and see what happens. And it worked out nicely, like little things like that. I'll do that, but I won't bet on Charlotte FC. I won't bet on UNC. Like I won't. Some of those I'm just going to stay away from because and same with like fantasy. I usually don't pick like Panthers players in fantasy football because I don't want to like add the extra level of. I want the fandom to be here, and like the fantasy sports betting thing to be like a separate thing where I appreciate other sports that way. So that's my simple rule.
So for this game, I had 2 bets. I had 3 bets. One, that Charlotte FC would win. Just a straight up bet. The second was they would win 1-0. But then I got an offer from FanDuel. If you bet $25 and you lost, you get that reimbursed. And I literally was like, well, I'll be safe here and say that Charlotte's going to tie. I was like, surely I'll get something out of this. And sure enough,
my bases.
I did not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to bet on us to lose. I'm just not. This never going to happen.
Absolutely not. Vaughn, have you placed any bets since it's been legal?
No, I steer so far clear of all that. I don't want to get it started. I'm trying not to cross that line. And real talk, just for a second, is also like we have a lot of friends that are in this sports world now, and in North Carolina, with this being legal, like everybody look out for each other. Like seriously, if you see somebody that like is getting too hot and heavy on it, like have that real talk with your buddies, like just being real, like try to have each other's backs and stop it if you can.
Absolutely,
it's definitely a slippery slope for real. So yeah, that's a good call out, Vaughn.
No, that's a really good point. Yeah, I told my wife she made the mistake of leaving to go out of town, and so I was left alone in the house for a week. The week that sports betting got legal, like that was dangerous. I'm just sitting around bored on my phone, and here we go. But yeah, no, it's totally true. I don't want to get like that's my personal thing too. Is like I'm using all those bonus bets and stuff. I'm using very little of my own money and just having a little fun with it. Like let's not get out of control with this. So, all right, I think I might have mispronounced that name. So let me try it again. It might be from a David Gussler. Do y'all heard of this? Yeah, it sounds familiar. Rings a bell.
Goosley.
I like that. Vaughn, this one's for Vaughn. I love a good top 10 list. Give us, without thinking too much and going with your gut, give us the top 10 kits in North Carolina soccer, including MLS, USL, etc. 10's a lot. I'm going to say give us the 3. Give us the top 3. I'm going to edit this down to the top 3 kits in North Carolina soccer.
That is incredibly difficult. I'll go the Pop-Tart kit. I love the Pop-Tart kit. Crown Legacy kit. I'm looking at it right there. And to support my Royals, Charlottetown Hops kit.
Interesting. The Mountainscape, the Mountain to Sea kit didn't even make it in the top 3. We can dig into that a little bit. You're not a.
I tried to take the prompt of don't think too much. So
not making you think about it.
I picked 2 that I see on the screen and another random one. So
Fair enough. Matt, would you? This wasn't directed at you, but Matt, do you want to throw out your 3 favorite North Carolina jerseys?
I honestly love the Mountain to Sea jersey. I think I've said before, like that used to be my screensaver. So that's going to be one. The first Appalachian FC jersey would be the second one. And then this legacy might be the third one because the legacy jersey, for those that can't see, and they're now going to be on sale this season. They're just so funky and different. So yeah, those would be my 3. There's lots of good ones.
They are. Yeah, you're right. Those are so good. The Crown Legacy kits are so good. I can't wait to get one. All right, last one. David, he went on the show, but he was busy throwing in some questions into the chat here. David says, I've gotten approval from my wife for a CLTFC tattoo. I'm thinking the Crown. What do you think I should get, Matt?
I think you should get mine and Corey's and your own face with Mint City Soccer Show underneath it on your back, center back. That's what
Center
I think
back.
you should get. Center back,
man.
yeah.
Okay. Vaughn?
okay. So do you guys remember when like the Charlotte MLS was like first announced and they had that like fake purple and blue painting on the wall? Like there was like a release that was like a painting of the city on a brick wall. It was in like this blue and purple smoke sort of thing. And everyone was like,
Oh,
what wall is that in
no.
the city?
Have I already
Okay.
forgotten this? Hold on. I'm going to Google while y'all are talking.
Oh, it's from a long time ago. Like ancient. Like one of
Are
the
you-
first posts
are you
ever
sh-
for Charlotte MLS. But what
We
I'm
didn't have a
thinking
name
is
yet,
like,
right?
no, it was Charlotte MLS.
Oh.
And it was literally like the cityscape with that. But I'm not saying to put the cityscape in there. I'm saying you just have like a motif of like the entire tailgate lot. Like just the whole tailgate lot in a cloud of purple and blue smoke, also all across your back. Yeah.
Got to get the Porta Johns on there too.
The Porta Johns. I was going to say like a corn dog in there somewhere. This needs to be like a whole.
Oh yeah,
We need a whole like we need like a whole sleeve, or we need to do like a whole. This needs to be a canvas that we begin.
A corn dog wearing a crown.
there you go. There you go, David. That's
That's
your
the answer.
tattoo.
We're done. That's it. That's all the questions.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for you guys submitting all those. We love answering them. Before we go, Vaughn, is there any last thoughts, words before we wrap up?
No, I had a great time. I'm looking forward to us finally being back home. We got a couple of tough teams here, Columbus and Cincinnati. I'm excited for Liel Abada to show up, and I'm excited to see us see if we can get back on the right side of the win column.
Absolutely. That's all I got, Corey. Hope everybody has a good night, and we'll see you later.